Good evening, everybody. I'd like to call this meeting to order for November 9th, the City of Beaumont City Council meeting. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order. And first business is to read our proclamation, Indigenous Greening Proclamation. We are pleased to be here today on the traditional territory of Treaty 6 and the Métis homeland. We acknowledge all those who share a deep connection with this land. The City of Beaumont respects the histories, languages, and cultures of all of Canada's First Peoples, whether they be of First Nation, Métis, or Inuit descent, and appreciates that their presence continues to enrich Canada's vibrant communities. We are all treaty people. The peace treaties bind us all. Next order of business for us is to read proclamations. We actually have 5 tonight. Usually have 1 or 2, we have 5. So bear with me, council and audience listening at home. First proclamation is Family Violence Prevention Month, November 2021. Whereas there are many people in Alberta who experience family violence, and whereas the effects of family violence may be carried on from generation to generation, and whereas all Albertans have a role to play in preventing family violence, and whereas the City of Beaumont Family and Community Support Services works to prevent family violence through education and awareness, and whereas the Beaumont City Council calls upon the citizens of Beaumont to reach out, speak out against family violence, and to make a difference by creating a culture of support for those affected by family violence. And whereas the Beaumont City Council calls upon all Albertans to make our province violence-free in 2021 and beyond. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Bill Danlick, do hereby proclaim, November 2021 as Family Violence Prevention Month. Thank you. The next proclamation is regarding World Town Planning Day, November 8th, 2021. Whereas since the inception in 1949, World Town Planning Day is celebrated in more than 30 countries around the world. And whereas World Town Planning Day highlights the valuable contributions that sound planning makes to the quality of our communities. And whereas Beaumont's vision is to be a vibrant, inclusive, livable, and sustainable community requires deliberate, wise, and strategic planning decisions. And whereas World Town Planning Day also serves as a reminder of the importance for all citizens to engage in building stronger, smarter communities. And whereas the City of Beaumont recognizes the valuable contributions of urban planners and planning and development department and their commitment to our community. Now, therefore, be resolved that I, Mayor Bill Danlick, do hereby proclaim November 8th, 2021 as World Town Planning Day in Beaumont, dated this 1st of December, November 21st. November 1st, 2021. Our third proclamation, Métis Week, November 14th to 20th, 2021. Whereas Métis Week is an opportunity to commemorate the legacy of Louis Riel and recognize the sacrifices of all Métis people who continue to strive towards rights and recognition as a distinct nation. And whereas the City of Beaumont recognizes the important role the Métis people have and played in the community and the contributions they make to make the City of Beaumont. And whereas Beaumont's vision to be a vibrant, inclusive, diverse, livable, and sustainable community requires the community to commit to a strong relationship with Métis people and communities across the province. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Bill Danlick, do hereby proclaim November 14th to 20th, 2021 as Métis Week in the City of Beaumont. Thank you. Proclamation Women's Entrepreneurship Day, November 19th, 2021. Whereas the City of Beaumont recognizes the important role all women have as leaders in business and industry who contribute to our economy, our workforce, and overall quality of life. And whereas women entrepreneurs are innovative and inspiring and work to make their communities stronger. And whereas pioneering business women within Beaumont and across Alberta are sources of inspiration for us all. And whereas the City of Beaumont values the significant role women play in our society, whose contributions are vital in creating a vibrant workforce and community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Bill Danlick, do hereby proclaim November 19th, 2021 as Women's Entrepreneurship Day in the City of Beaumont. And lastly, one more proclamation. National Child Day, November 20th, 2021. Whereas by ratifying the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child in 1991, Canada made a commitment to ensure that all children are treated with dignity and respect. And whereas this commitment includes the opportunity for children to have a voice, to be protected from harm, and to be provided with their basic needs and every opportunity to reach their full potential. And whereas the City of Beaumont and Family and Community Support Services celebrates our children and recognizes the importance of our children in the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mayor Bill Danlick, do hereby proclaim November 20th, 2021 as National Child Day in the city of Beaumont. That concludes our list of proclamations this evening. Thank you for your patience with that. Much appreciated. I will now move on to the adoption of the agenda. Is there any amendments from administration regarding the agenda this evening, please? Ms. Winter. Oh, sorry, hang on.
I've got it. Thank you, Mayor.
Right.
Administration has the following additions for council's consideration for this evening's agenda. Add the request for decision report and attachment 1 for proposed 2022 budget item 8D. Add item 12A, request for support letter, Beaumont Ringette Association. Schedule item 14A, advocacy update to start at 6:45 p.m. and add closed session item 14B, CAO performance review process. Items have been updated and documents have been circulated. Thank you.
Are there any further additions to the agenda for this evening? Seeing none, is there a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, as amended, pardon me? Oh, sorry, I couldn't see them up light there. Hang on, sorry, Kathy. Okay. Sorry. Why is it not doing this? Shalane, give me a second. I'm on the agenda here. I apologize, council.
Got it now? Okay.
Oh, there it is. Okay.
There you go. Thank you, Mayor. And I would make the motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Thank you very much. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? I think Ashley needs to hit the yes button there. Oh, you did? Okay, thank you. Motion is carried unanimously, 7-0. Thank you very much, council. Move on to the consent agenda. The following items are proposed to be on the consent agenda this evening. Item 5A, regular council meeting, September 14th, 2021. The council accept the minutes of the September 14th, 2021 regular council meeting as presented. 5B, special council meeting, September 17th, 2021. The council accept the minutes of the September 17th, 2021 special council meeting as presented. Item 5C, special council meeting, September 17th, 2021. The council accept the minutes of the September 17th, 2021 special council meeting as presented. 5D, inaugural council meeting, October 25th, 2021. The council accept the minutes of the October 25th, 2021 inaugural council meeting as presented, pardon me. Item 8B, Beaumont Performing Arts Center Steering Committee appointment, that Paul Hoare be appointed as a member of the Beaumont Performing Arts Center Steering Committee for a term commencing on November 9th, 2021 and concluding at the completion of the committee's mandate. 8C, 2021, that council and committee of the whole meeting changes. That the regular scheduled committee of the whole meeting for December 21st, 2021 be canceled and administration provide the prescribed notice to the public. That the regularly scheduled council meeting for December 28th, 2021 be canceled and the administration provide the prescribed notice to the public. Lastly, that an additional council meeting be added on December 1st, 2021 and continuing December 2nd and 3rd as required. The start time of 5 p.m. Administration provide this prescribed notice to the public. Is there a motion from council to adopt the consent agenda as presented? Thank you. Hang on. Give me a second. Okay. Shalane, I hit this.
Got it.
Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Mr. Councilman McCoswing, you have the floor, please.
Yeah, good. So I'd like to remove 8C for the consent agenda, please. I'll speak to that when we get there. Aside from that, I'm happy to move the consent agenda as amended.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. I'll call for the vote, please. Motion is carried. 7-1 to remove 8C from the consent agenda. Thank you. We'll now move on to item 4, open forum. There's no guests for open forum this evening, so we'll move on to number 6, no public hearings. Number 7, no registered presentations. We'll move on then now to business items. Item 8A, Beaumont Community Grant Program, October 1st, 2021, intake funding recommendations. Administration, can you speak this item, please?
Good evening, Your Worship and members of Council. My name is Amanda Cuthbert. I'm the Manager of Recreation Services. This evening, we have Ambert Porter from the Community Grants Committee to provide a recommendation to Council on community grants. The purpose of the Community Grant Program is to fund one-time projects and initiatives or operating expenses of organizations in their developmental stage, or events that are primarily designed and delivered for the general public that attract visitors, significantly contribute to the local economy, and promote volunteerism. The Beaumont Grant Funding Advisory Committee has reviewed and ranked applications to provide Council a recommendation. I will let Ambert speak about the grant recommendations now.
Thank you so much, Amanda. We went through our typical processes that we do at our committee and found most of the applications to be very strong. And so we recommended the amount that you see in your agenda there. With one exception, we're concerned about investing in capital costs or capital assets for one area. But so that's where we were at. Did you have any questions?
Thank you. And any questions from council for our presenter regarding the community grant program? Councilman McGuff-Swain. Okay, what the heck is going on
You got it.
here? Got it.
Thank you. And thank you to the presenter for going through all the work on this. The question I had was around assessing the Beaumont Performing Arts Collective piece that's in front of us there. As you know, we provide the arts community regular funding through our operations budget. So I'm just curious the thought process of going through this. I'm not opposed to it. I just wanted to hear or get an understanding of your committee's review of that winter performing arts season and how that relates to on top of the additional funding that we provide through that operational budget.
Thank you, Councillor. Our application process may be a little separate from your ongoing funding that you might have. But the application met all the criteria and exceeded it. So it was difficult for us to decline their application, which was for a specific project. Indeed, the winter production process that they have undergoing. They actually met with us as well virtually and discussed their season plans.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, just hang on a second.
Good now. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Ms. Rossborough and committee for the work you've done on this. You piqued my curiosity when you said that you weren't able to fund any capital expenses. And I agree that that's not what this grant is for. I wonder, can you elaborate on that, or is that information that we don't have that information?
Thank you, Councillor Barnhart. I can't really go into depth on that, but in the actual criteria for the grants, capital funding is kind of outlined as a kind of a gray area. There's some contradictions in the actual structure of how we give out money. And so the committee is actually working on that along with our city support staff. But technically, we are not supposed to give money for capital if we think that if it's not well suited to the rest of the request, if that makes sense.
If I may, just a supplemental, Mayor, I do understand that. I just wondered if you could give us any idea what that capital request was for.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, specifically, it was the Triton, or pardon me, the Beaumont School of Dance wanted some specific equipment that we weren't prepared. I think it was the School of Dance. Pardon me for a moment. Let me just check my notes. But I think it was them that wanted some specific equipment that we couldn't see where that fit into their request. So, pardon me, it was Triton Swimming. I apologize. They were looking for iPads, and half of the request was about $5,000 for iPad and iPad related technology like GoPros. And so instead we chose to fund the timers for swimming, which was a better fit with keeping that money in Beaumont and a better fit for not increasing their equipment and capital costs or capital assets there.
Thank you again, Ms. Rossbauer, and I appreciate all the work you've done on this. Thank you very much.
Oh, you know, we are very well supported by our city staff.
Are there any further questions from council on the presentation? Seeing none, is there a motion from council to adopt the recommendation of the committee? Oh, hang on, Steve, sorry.
Yeah, so moved, Mayor Daniluk.
Thank you, Councilor Van Newkirk. Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Thank you. Oh, hang on, did I just? Oh, wrong button. Thank you. The motion is carried 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for presentation. The next item of business is 8D, our 2022 proposed budget presentation. Sorry, I apologize. Thank you, Councilor McCoy, for reminding me. 8C was taken off the consent agenda. We will now proceed to business item 8C, the 2021 Council and Committee of the Whole meeting changes. Councilor McCoy, you have the floor for your question, please. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And sorry to drag this out. Just the one piece that is a conflict on December. So the third one there, we're talking about the budget items on December 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Start time of 5 p.m. Both Councillor Miller and I have an engagement with the Youth Council at 4:30 to 5:30 on December 1st. So I'm just curious if council or administration is okay to start that one at 6, so that we can attend that first one. So I just wanted to just gauge the thoughts of folks around the room here around that, as well as administration, to start the December 1st meeting at 6 p.m. And that would allow us to attend that meeting. If not, no problem. We have let the Youth Council know that that if we can't make that change, then we'll just show up very, very briefly. So just thoughts from you and council and administration.
Is there thoughts from administration on the request to start the first evening of budget workshop at 6 instead of 5 p.m.? Can that be accommodated, do you think, without too much difficulty? Oh, sorry, Mr. Schwartz, one moment, please. Sorry, Ms. Winter.
Thank you, Your Worship, through the rest of council. Absolutely. If that's what you want to do, we can do that. We can start at 6.
Thank you very much for the accommodation. Do we require a formal motion to this effect? I'm assuming you would.
Thank you, Mayor. I have amended the current motion that we have here. I'll just pop it up here in a sec. Sorry, I'm doing multiple controls. And just to confirm, Councillor Moncopson, you said December 1st. Thank you. So I have amended the motion that additional council meeting be added on December 1st at 6 p.m. 2021 and continuing December 2nd and 3rd, 2021 as required with a start time of 5 p.m. and that administration provide the prescribed notice to the public.
Thank you. Councilman Swain, would you make that motion, please?
Yeah, thanks. And seeing as I'm the one who caused the slight drama, I should be the one to have to read it out. So I'll go through that and we'll go through motion by motion. That's correct. Ms. Winter, you want me to go motion by motion here? Or can I do all three and we all vote on one? All three is okay? Okay, thank you. So I'll move that the 2021 Council and Committee of the Whole meeting changes, that the regularly scheduled Committee of the Whole meeting for December 21st, 2021 be cancelled and that administration provide the prescribed notice to the public, and that the regularly scheduled Council meeting for December 28th, 2021 be cancelled and that administration provide the prescribed notice to the public, and that an additional Council meeting be added on December 1st at 6 p.m. 2021 and continuing December 2nd and 3rd, 2021 as required with a start time of 5 p.m. and that administration provide the prescribed notice to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion from council, please? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote, please. Please vote accordingly. Thank you. The motion is carried is 7-0. Thank you very much. Next item of business is 8D, the 2022 proposed budget presentation. Mr. DeBlanco, you have the floor, and I would ask you if you don't mind, oh, pardon me, Mr. Schwartz. Okay, you're not on my screen here. I apologize, council and administration.
That's all right. Thank you very much, Your Worship. Through the rest of council, welcome to your first budget process. It's haven't even been in the saddle for a month and you're about to make some $50 million decisions. We hope that the process has been laid out. It's something that's been iterative for us over the last several years. We've been trying to make it more and more effective and make the presentation and the understanding of the document less complicated. So, but I'd like to just take a second and set the context for our perspective and for that of the public and hopefully to council. You know, in Beaumont, we don't stand still. This organization in this city is moving at breakneck speed. During COVID, many of the communities around us in the region chose to slow down, delay work, pull projects, but we didn't do that. Instead, we hunkered down, we charged ahead at council's direction. And in the last 2 years, we've taken on several recreation projects, 2 outdoor rinks among them for the community and putting years of additional life in Ken Nickel Arena Recreation Center. We're now putting the finishing touches on the multi-use artificial field. We got 5 new ball diamonds being built out there and a dog park, not to mention the completion and commissioning of the $35 million expansion to the BSRC. We focused on the economic health of our community during COVID. We had programs, council supported programs to support local businesses, and efforts to attract investment have continued. For instance, the creation of the Innovation Park in the South of Beaumont is one. We're in negotiations to bring ultra high speed internet network to the community, the fastest in Western Canada. We joined the Discovery Leduc region last year, again, to help with local businesses and to attract tourism to our region. And we've done a lot of upgrades to our road work and neighborhood renewal. Like I said, we don't stand still. The next year, we don't see being much different. But as we move forward, we're also going to take some time in 2022 to shore up what we've built. We've got a generous amount of assets for a community our size, but that takes careful planning and proper care to make sure they stay in the condition that they're in. Administration has chosen 4 focus areas of development for the organization in the next year. The first one is continuing to build on our culture. We've displayed that over and over, and I know I boast about this organization to anybody who will listen. But we need to continue to pay attention to that and to build that culture. Number 2 is enhancing customer service, and that's the service we deliver to the public. Number 3 is environmental and social stewardship. And number 4 is the continuing of our digital transformation. So those are 4 focus areas for administration. The budget we put in front of you supports this. They support those areas by providing stability that allows us to maintain and sustain that direction. It continues our work on transformational projects like the Innovation Park and high-speed internet, and it positions us to support economic recovery as Alberta emerges from the pandemic. In the past year, we built an organizational structure to meet the community's need, better meet the community's needs. We've made a lot of changes. I've shared some of those with council already, and what we believe will take us into the future. We also adopted a new set of values to guide those behaviors and the decisions and the actions that we take. In a nutshell, they are challenge accepted, make a difference with heart and mind, and work for each other. Those are the cornerstones of the decisions and the actions that we take. We have an amazing team of hardworking, dedicated, brilliant, and ambitious people. And in 2022, we'll continue to build that culture that supports innovation, customer service, and service to the community. We'll move forward with strategies and technology that enhance the services to citizens and allows us to operate more effectively and efficiently. We'll create an inclusive perspective of economic development, environmental stewardship, and social development that not only supports our community's overall well-being, but makes Beaumont as an attractive place for global investment. And that's huge in the recovery of Alberta. A lot of munis are focusing inside the province and in the region, and we got to go bigger. And that's been the direction of council for the 4 years that I've been here. And we'll do that while we deliver services like no other municipality. So I wanted to present that and to summarize where the journey Beaumont's been on. And we've been on it for several years now, and we're going to continue. We've got council strategic plan in January. Sometimes it's tough to bring a budget before that, but I don't see a big change in the direction. And if it does, then we will make adjustments accordingly. But with that, I'd like to turn it over to our Director of Finance, Curtis DeBlanco, who with his team have done a remarkable job of putting a very good budget in front of the community, in front of council. So with that, Curtis, thank you.
Thank you. Good evening to the Mayor and Council. My name is Curtis DeBlanco. I'm the Director of Finance for the city. Before you this evening is a report regarding the proposed budget for 2022. Accompanying the report is attachment 1, which is the proposed budget document, of which each of you have been provided a physical copy. Administration is presenting the proposed 2022 municipal operating budget for tax-supported operations, the 2022 utility operating budget, and the 2022 capital budget for approval. With the proposed budgets, administration believes that they allow council to continue with priorities identified in the strategic plan. The goals specifically addressed through the 2022 budget include stabilizing, maintaining, and sustaining service delivery, continuing transformational projects, and building a path for post-pandemic recovery. It's expected that administration will return in April with an update to budget estimates when the province is expected to finalize their education requisition, portion of property tax, and the final assessment growth numbers will be available. Administration will then recommend that council approve any significant amendments to budgets as a result of this updated information. The update to the budget will be presented prior to council's approval of the property tax bylaw, which establishes the residential and non-residential tax rates for the year. Once the budget has been updated and the property tax bylaw approved, property tax notices can then be distributed to property tax owners by the end of May. Property taxes due by the end of June. If approved by City Council, the proposed 2022 municipal operating budget would result in a 3.66 increase to the tax levy. So the proposed tax levy increase of 3.66 is a net result of several factors, which are outlined on page 7 of the budget document. Firstly, administration always seeks to maintain service levels with little to no increase to the tax levy. The 2021 budget was passed with 0% increase to the tax levy. And while holding the line was certainly an appropriate response given the pandemic, it does create pressures when dealing with growth and inflation. Administration has taken similar steps to prior years to bring this base budget to zero. However, due to these inflationary and growth-related pressures, we have determined that an increase of approximately 0.7 would be required to maintain services. The city has also seen some substantial growth in its assessment and has proposed funding specific growth-related resources as uses of these new dollars. The net impact of growth has a negative being good in this sense, impact on the tax levy of approximately 1.2%. There are a number of additional items from past councils, outside entities that have impacts on this budget and the tax levy. These items are identified as impacts of council and other entities on page 7. The most significant items in the category are potential increased costs of policing, as well as fully reflecting the cost of transit on the tax levy. In previous years, transit had been partially funded through reserve transfers. Items in this category account for 2.55% of the proposed increase. Lastly, administration has proposed some service enhancements that add resources to key areas such as fire services and FCSS. Further information on these enhancements can be found in the budget document, and these enhancements have an impact of approximately 1.6%. As stated previously, the net result of all of these factors is a proposed tax levy increase of 3.66. The capital budget in the document provides a list of projects that focus on maintaining the infrastructure that city currently has, as well as funding some growth-related projects, including servicing of Beaumont Innovation Park and replacement of the Bellevue Outdoor Rink. The total proposed capital budget is $9.9 million. The utility operating budget services are self-funded through utility rates, which are also included in the budget document. This budget includes a utility operating budget of $11.2 million. As this is administration's proposed budget, administration does have the following recommendations: that council approve the 2022 municipal operating budget as outlined in attachment 1, with revenue and transfers of $47,989,000 and expenditures and transfers of the same amount. This is composed of revenue based on the general municipal tax levy of $23,414,000, as well as requisite revenue requirements for requisitions by the city or other authorities, including schools and housing authorities, estimated to be $8,017,300, and estimated non-tax revenue of $16,557,700. Second motion, that the utility operating budget be approved in attachment 1, with revenue and transfers of $11,227,000 and expenditures and transfers of the same amount, and that the capital budget be approved in the amount of $9,854,800. As outlined in the document previously, council will have an opportunity to submit questions to administration over the next week. These questions will be compiled and answers will be provided the following week. That being said, I'll turn the floor back over to council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Thank you, Mr. Blanco, for the explanation and the presentation on the budget this evening. Are there any questions from council for our presenters on the proposed budget for 2022? Okay, let me just. Councilman Newkirk, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Through your Mayor Dunlop to Mr. DeBlanco. I assume we'll get a digital copy of this as well, or did we?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Through the mayor to Councilor Van Newkirk, yes, the digital copy should be provided as the attachment in the agenda package. Also, I believe it will be available on the website.
Okay, so there's no changes from what's attached to what's in here?
No.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Councilman Spain, you have the floor, please.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. Just a process question. This is I always find this weird at this point of the budget. I recognize what you're trying to do is you're trying to get it on the agenda, and then in front of me, I got a question that I'm approving this budget. So could you maybe clarify just for us, but also the public, that we're not approving this. We're going to go through and you've outlined the process, but just explain why the recommendation is drafted this way, just so that we don't have some confusion up here.
Through the mayor to Councilor Monkhoff-Swain. Great question. It is administration's proposed budget. So as administration, we put forward our best budget possible for council to deliberate. It's, I guess, a confidence thing that we would recommend that you approve the budget.
Right, and so us approving it today doesn't prohibit us from going through and debating it and chopping it up left, right, and center. I'm sure it's great. I haven't looked at it yet, but we still have that opportunity. I just want to be crystal clear on for us and for the public that approving this here today as per their recommendation, that we're still got that process to go through.
To be clear, if approving these motions, that would approve the budget. By not approving these motions, we would go through the process outlined in the document.
So, okay, so to be clear, what you're asking us to do here, again, in the attachment here, there's the recommendation in front of us, but we're not going to go through and read those motions out right now.
Thank you, Mayor. If I can kind of cut in here. We would need a motion from council. However, the motion that we could have this evening is just that you accept the information as presented versus having the recommendations that are set out. Administration does put forward our best recommendations, which is what you're seeing in front of you. However, that is not recommendations that you need to make this evening, and you could just adopt this information as presented.
Thank you. And that would be my preference. Yeah, so I'll leave that for you to manage, but accepting this as information, this is no reflection of the budget. I haven't looked at it. We'll have our fun later on, Mr. DeBlanco, but yeah, I recommend that we accept it as information, and then we can get into the details just to avoid the confusion.
Thank you for clarifying, administration and Councilman Swain. So my understanding is that we can entertain a motion from council to accept this budget as presented and refer it to the budget workshop. Can we do that? Be that specific? That in my understanding that we accept it as information and then we refer it to the budget workshop, which is council's prerogative as opposed to approving Curtis's budget tonight. I know you wanted us to, buddy, but sorry.
Thank you, Mayor.
Big leap.
We would actually not require a referral to the budget committee. I've popped up a recommended motion that council could consider up on the board there.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Is there a member of council wishing to move the motion on the screen, please? Thank you. Give me 1 second here. It's coming up. Councilor McCook, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. I move that the 2022 proposed budget presentation be accepted as information.
Thank you very much. Discussion on the motion, please, from council. Oh. 1 second,
Thank you,
Councilor
Mayor.
Barnhart, you have the floor.
Just a question on process, if I may. I
Okay.
wasn't quite ready to get to the motion yet.
Okay.
People are ahead of me. Just on the questions, and it says to send them to the administration. Could you just clarify, is that to you, Mr. Schwartz, or to someone else?
Yeah, sorry, through the mayor to Councilor Barnhart, I believe we're directing the questions to legislative services. Yes.
To Shalane? Sandy or Shalane? Or... Okay. Just want to really be clear so they don't somewhere end up in the ether. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I was just going to thank you. That's what was said. I was going to say we'll send out an email, but we've just clarified. Let's send them to Ledge Services, to Sandy, and to Shalane, please.
Okay. Councilor Barnhart, your question was answered. Councilor Tessier, you have a question? Give me 1 second to line you up here. You have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. Thanks for the presentation, administration. Just a quick question on percentages. So you said 0.7% to maintain services. Would that be to maintain additional housing that's been on, like, obviously increased newer houses from what was before? Or is that just to maintain what previous budget?
So through the mayor to Councilor Tessier, that would be to maintain as the current assessment value of Beaumont right now. So that's no new growth. That is maintaining the existing services that are offered for the existing assessment.
Okay, thank you. And just one more thing on service enhancements, you talked about fire services and FCSS at 1.6% and increasing police levels and increase of transportation. I didn't hear that percentage. What was that one?
Through the mayor to Councilor Tessier. So it's summarized on page 7 of the document. So with the RCMP contract, transit, and a few other things, it's 2.55.
Thank you.
Thank you. See no further questions from council. I'll entertain voting on the motion before you on the screen, please. Thank you, council. The vote is accepted 7-0. Thank you very much. And with that, we'll take a break for a moment here. We're going to go into, we have a guest for, go ahead, Mr. Swartz, go ahead, please.
I just wanted to expand very briefly on what Mr. DeBlanco was saying about the recommendation, and probably more so for the new council than for the returning. We're not trying to play silly bugger here.
No.
As you'll see with every report we present to you, is we as the content experts will make a recommendation that we believe is the best recommendation. Otherwise, we wouldn't have put that budget together. We know full well that you want to dissect it, you want to go down deeper. But if you're asking the expert for a recommendation, then that's what we give you. So that's why you had that in front of you.
Maybe to clarify, I do think council did anticipate the expertise in the budget, and technically speaking, we could approve it tonight if we wanted to, but that's not how we would normally do things. But thank you for presenting the budget nonetheless. We have carried it and deferred it to our budget workshop. At this point, we are going to go. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, we probably can. We have time. You're okay for a minute or two? Okay, thank you. Based on that, next order of business is number 9, bylaws. There's nothing on the agenda for bylaws. Next section is council inquiries or reports. Are there any questions from council inquiries this evening? Okay, your room was lit up. Councillor Miller. Excuse me. Yeah,
There we
you have
go.
the floor, Councillor Miller.
Awesome. Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. So my inquiry tonight is to if I can get administration to please provide any available information on the plans for the coming winter season for a skating surface at Don Sparrow Lake. In particular, what area will be cleared for skating, how frequently the skating surface will be maintained, and whether this skating surface will be accessible for the entire season. Thank you.
Oh, sorry, didn't see the red light on. Thank you very much for the question, Councillor Miller. We will pull that together in a synopsis to you and bring it back to the next meeting. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. This inquiry is about the Service Beaumont portal response times. So if administration could please provide any available information on the average response times for the Service Beaumont portal responses, and how many requests on average per month the portal receives, as well as any additional information on what data is available on response times. Further, please provide direction on what citizens can do if there's a big delay in response time. Thank you.
Certainly. We'll pull that together. We don't have that off the top of my head, but we'll pull it together and bring it back to the next meeting.
Thank you, CEO Schwartz. Thank you, Councillor Tessier. Next, I have Councillor Van Newkirk has a question. You have the floor, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Daniluk. Through you to administration, 2 questions tonight. One of them is regarding the 2021 Remembrance Day celebration. Just wondering if administration could speak to the decision to hold that event online rather than outside. Thank you.
CEO Schwartz.
Yes, through Mayor Daniluk to Councillor Van Newkirk. The decision point for Remembrance Day celebration was done several weeks ago. And if you recall, at that point in time, our cases were going through the roof and the AHS was implementing increased health restrictions. So it did not make any sense to hold a large gathering. And, seeing that the numbers are trending down, that's nice, but we're talking 2 days from now. So the decision had to be made. And that's the decision that was made.
Follow up, or you're okay?
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, thank you for providing that answer. Second question is around I think communication from city administration through to council. One of the decisions that was made and communicated to city staff was surrounding vaccine mandates, and council wasn't made aware of that. I found out through other means, people reaching out to me, and was able to ask the question this morning of city administration to learn more about what that program is, what it entails, and just looking for some conversation back from city administration on the intent to communicate that to council, whether it was overlooked, whether it was considered, and how we can avoid missing communications in the future for what we know to be hot button issues. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Councillor Van Newkirk. The decision was consciously made not to communicate that to anybody. This is an internal organization decision. It doesn't affect the community and it doesn't affect council. The notion of council being covered under that, it's not included. Council is not considered an employee. However, by bylaw, they can pass a bylaw that requires each member of council to be double vaxxed or whatever you decide. But as far as communicating outside the organization, we didn't see any need to do that.
Yes, please follow ups. Councilor Van Newkirk. You're good.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that answer for sure. And definitely not questioning the authority to make that decision or all, questioning the conscious decision not to let council know. What I've learned is that any hot button issues make their way to council. And in my opinion, the more council would know about decisions, CCs and random, let council know about things a little bit more is definitely helpful. The decisions that are made that catch people off guard aren't any fun. So thank you.
If I could further comment to that, the thought behind the conscious decision is this was a tough decision for this organization to make. This is not about vax. This is about sharing personal health information. So we saw no reason to share that information with anybody else. And your notion of wanting to know everything that goes on in case somebody asks you in the street, it's not realistic. We just can't do that. This was a very tough decision that took a lot of time to make. Most of the other regional municipalities jumped on that bandwagon right from the beginning. We did not because we felt it was a very personal decision.
We're good. Thank you, Councilor Van Newkirk. Councilor Barnhart, you have the floor when your mic comes on. It's on now, please. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. And my question to the administration is following up on an email I sent your way last week. And forgive me if the answer came and I haven't found it yet, but it was about public swimming hours after school between 3 and 7 p.m. Just wondering if there's any possibility of any of those lane swims being set aside for public swimming.
So
yes, thank you, Councilor Barnhart, and that's my fault for not sending that back. I did get the answer. The individual you're speaking to also spoke with our staff. We always look at our scheduling. There is some open lane swim right after school. We are looking at changing the schedule in the spring of 2022. This individual was happy with that response when they talked to staff and then proceeded to try and sell us pool chemicals. So there's usually a couple sides to each story. Regardless, I will get an email back out to you tomorrow with that data in it.
Thank you for that.
And with the suggestion, because I know you talked about a notice of motion to implement that. A suggestion that we would make is, and I'll put it in writing, is a notice of motion to bring back the schedule to have a review and discuss the impacts of making changes.
Sure, understand that. Thank you very much for the information.
My apologies for not getting it out.
Thank you, Council. See no more inquiries for item 10 on the agenda. Ms. Winter, at this point, you recommend continuing for the agenda or moving to our closed session as we have our guest for closed session has arrived. What is your recommendation for the agenda? Should we move to closed session now or go any further down the agenda?
Thank you, Mayor. We do have a motion that was passed to have a hard stop at 6:45, and we're already past that time. So I would recommend that we suspend the items on the agenda and move forward with our closed session. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So with that, council and guests in the room and those listening at home, we're going to move into closed session. As a reminder, under sections 197-3 of the MGA, council prohibited from passing a resolution or bylaw during a closed session meeting. If there is a direction or a decision to reach, the council will revert back to an open meeting, to the public. The direction will be recorded in all public minutes. FOIP outlines the items that would allow a council to close a council meeting, which include matters where a public disclosure could be harmful to third-party business interests, section 16, third-party personal privacy, section 17, individual public safety, sections 18 and 19, law enforcement, section 20, intergovernmental relations, sections 21, 22, 23, and 24, and economic and other interests, section 25, 26, 27, 28, and 29. With that, we need to make a motion to go into closed session. Is there a motion from the floor to go into closed session, please? Councilor McGough-Swain.
Yeah, I'll make that motion as presented.
Thank you. Discussion on the motion. All's in favor? Thank you. We'll adjust the room and start a closed session momentarily. So guests, we have to ask you to leave the room, please. Thank you. I will thank you, the public joining us again. We are now back in open public session. There were no discussion decisions or no business coming out of the closed sessions. We're back in open session with council. Next item of business on our agenda is CEO update. And Mr. Schwartz will be back in just one moment. I think you didn't realize we were actually back in camera out of camera that quickly. So we'll just take a second here and we'll let Mr. Schwartz join us. That's good. I didn't see him leave the room. Oh, no problem. Mr. Schwartz has rejoined the meeting. Thank you very much. Mr. Schwartz, you have the floor for your CEO update.
All right, thank you very much. First of all, I've been called a host, but not a good host. I forgot to introduce Aaron Lewicki. Aaron's been here working his butt off all night on other things. He is our infrastructure director, which includes operations and engineering. Aaron comes to us from the city of Edmonton and is another fantastic find as you were looking up and down here that we've been able to attract. So he's feverishly looking at the changes he's going to make and the improvements to operations. So welcome. This is the first time I've actually met Aaron, and you've been here, what, 5 weeks now? Or is it 6 months? So.
Thanks, Mike. Appreciate that. Nice to meet you all. Really excited to be here and contribute to the city and make a difference and look forward to working with you all.
Thanks, Aaron.
Thank you.
Aaron is also an environmental engineer. So brings that skill set. But okay, CAO update. You received an issues briefing on the multi-use field and the 80 acres development. I would ask that well, I went for a tour on Friday afternoon, and the general contractor and our project manager took Maureen and I on a tour. And I got to say one thing, that facility is not, I didn't expect to see what I saw. It is incredible. The Blue Jays field, they had enough money in the grant to sod the infield. It just looks fantastic. The dog park looks great. But the general contractor said, yeah, the first thing they do in the morning when they arrive on site is clean up the dog crap from the dog park. So I just got to tell people, you got to stay off that. The sod was just laid. We need time for it to get rooted. Yeah, and people are actually going out there and using it. It's not ready for use. And as for the issues briefing, and we'll send some more information out to the public, that quite likely won't be ready for use unless we get some snowpack and some freezing temperatures for a couple months in the winter. And then we're going to kick people off it again because we'll rip that stuff up. So I ask people, just be patient. It is absolutely beautiful out there. There will be the drone video on our dashboard will be updated shortly if it hasn't been done already. We talked about the Remembrance Day celebration. It'll be virtual pre-recorded ceremony will be posted on our social media pages on November 11th. You can also go to the Veteran Affairs Remembrance Day page for other options to recognize one of the most important days in our country's history. Public engagement is about to begin on winter cities and crime prevention through environmental design. That public engagement will occur November 12th to the 21st, and you can go to our website to look at those details. A couple quick things. We're down to 17 COVID cases. We were down to 18 last Thursday, and then we went up to 22 over the weekend, but we're down to 17 again today. So that's a good credit to the city of Beaumont for abiding by the public health measures. And the last thing I will provide is on November 16th, we will be hosting a Métis flag raising service just outside of City Hall, and council is invited to that, and the members of the public. We did this last year and it went over extremely well, and we will have some guests, and we will do that. So that's what I had for update. Thank you.
Thank you, CEO Schwartz. And I'll just briefly apologize to administration and council for my earlier difficulty with the microphone system. I promise by 2025, I'll have it mastered. I promise that. Put that on the record, okay? 2025, I'll have it mastered. Next item on the agenda this evening, council, is correspondence on number 12. Administration, can you enlighten us on some correspondence, please, we have in front of us? Is that the letter we have? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk and members of council. We received a request from the Beaumont Ringette Association. Their request is to have a letter of support from council for their application to host the U14B Provincial Championships. We don't know if they'll be successful in that effort, but they are hoping to be successful, and they feel that a letter from council would help their application. We don't have a lot of information because the request came in quite late, but we did reach out to our friends in Recreation and Parks, and they advised that this would be feasible. The skating time could be accommodated, but it would mean having to reschedule or cancel some existing bookings that have already been put in place. We have bookings in place until March of 2022. So that is the one fly in the ointment, if you will. So if council is of a mind to support the request, then we would require a motion of council. Otherwise, we would advise the association that council was not prepared to endorse their application.
Thank you, Mr. Jaga. CEO Schwartz, you have a comment to make before?
Yeah,
we go to
the
council?
comment I wanted to make, and this is for the edification of the new council. These requests, when they come down with such short notice, it really put us at a disadvantage. I didn't even know that Ms. Bozai was able to talk to REC and find out if this was feasible. So thank you for doing that on such short notice. Normally, we would get a little bit more notice, and then when you would direct this back to us, and we would come back with a report saying, here is the effects of you saying yes or no. Unfortunately, we would probably get more of these that don't give us that notice. So it may sound like we're dropping something on you because it was just dropped on us yesterday. So this is kind of a tricky one. So the rest, I thought Ms. Bajai has explained extremely well. So it's your choice, unfortunately.
Okay, with that, I'll open up to council for any questions they may have. Councillor Tessier, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. Just a question about, is it practices or games that it affects? Like obviously it's playoff season, which could be an issue. You know, if it's practices, they can go obviously to neighboring communities for a provincial event, but if it's during playoff time, it could be difficult and that can't really be changed. So the type of practice or game is pretty important here is what I think. So.
Thank you. Councillor Barnhart, you have the floor next.
Perhaps there's an answer there.
Sorry, I thought you were just making a comment. I didn't see any. Is your microphone? Sorry, the white counter is blocking the microphone. I wasn't aware, sorry. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
I was just going to thank Councillor Tessier for the question. We don't have a lot of details, but what I can share, we have a list of groups that would be impacted. So it's the Beaumont drop-in programming that would be impacted, adult hockey groups, Beaumont Chiefs, Beaumont Ringette, Beaumont Skating Club, and Beaumont Minor Hockey, but exactly the nature of those bookings, unfortunately, we didn't have the time to suss out all those details.
Thanks.
I think I had Councillor Barnhart was next, I believe.
I go off again here?
There you are.
No, I'm on.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. I really would like to support this, but not having that information as to whether the groups can be accommodated is a concern. They need a letter by November 15th. Is there any way that we could get more information before we give a final decision on that? Mayor, perhaps? I wonder if there's some way, because this is exactly the kind of thing we want to see in our facilities. We want to draw more attention to Beaumont. We want to bring in youth events. Ringette is a wonderful organization for all of the reasons that we all know, but I'm just wondering if there isn't a way that we could accommodate this by looking into it a little further, since we did get late notice.
Thank you for the question. I unfortunately don't have a lot of good news for you on that front. Short of calling a special council meeting, there really is no way to get the council motion in time for November 15th. However, the information that I did receive from Recreation and Parks, they were clear that they could accommodate this request operationally, and they did not say, hold the phone, there's a huge wrench in this, or this would not be feasible. I trust our administration that if there was a major concern, they would have advised us of it. But unfortunately, I just don't have the level of detail that I think council would appreciate in these circumstances.
Thank you.
Mayor, if I can just follow up on that.
Sure.
No, I would be prepared to make the motion to support this event and see how the vote goes if that's the case.
Okay, you want to make a motion
I
now?
would-
So two
I
other
would-
councils wanting to speak first. You want to make a motion now?
I'm prepared to move it now, because I do think this is something that we want to support.
Okay. Your motion, a proposed motion is on the screen. Would you make the motion, please?
That the administration prepare a letter of support for the Beaumont Ringette Association's application to host the U14B Provincial Championships, and that the mayor sign the letter on behalf of council.
Thank you for that motion. Discussion on the motion. I will go to Councillor Monkoff-Swain first, then Councillor Van Newkirk. Sam, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Sorry, Mayor Dallek. I'm surprised that Councillor Tessier remembers when playoff season is, but I'm glad he was able to get there. The comment for me, I support the motion. I think let's move forward with it. We've heard as much as we know. If there is a huge major drama, then we can go back and take a look at this. I think this is exactly the group that we want, the type of thing that we want in the rec center. I just encourage administration. I know they'll do some more due diligence on there, and if there are showstoppers, they'll bring that back to council. So I'm prepared to support the motion today.
Thank you for your comments. Councillor Van Newkirk, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Danlock. Yeah, I'm happy to support the motion. Sometimes you got to make a decision with all the information you have at hand. If Councillor Barnhart wouldn't have made a motion, I pushed my button because I was gonna. For the same reasons that Councillor Barnhart said that we should and need to support these types of events is why I think we should put together that letter of support for this application. I will say that we don't know the unintended consequences of decisions like this sometimes, and I hope that administration, as Councillor Monkoff-Swain said, would bring back any bad news or unintended consequences to us for future consideration if we needed to. So thank you. I'm happy to support the motion Councillor Barnhart made. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Miller, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm good.
Oh,
Sorry, turned it off there.
that's okay. Any further discussion on the motion from council? My only comment would be that based on information from administration that it can be accommodated without too much disruption. As far as we know, I'd be prepared to support the motion as well. So with that, no further discussion on the motion. I'll call for the vote. Give me 1 second to get this thing lit up here properly. Council, please vote. My fancy dancy glasses say motion is carried. 7 to no. Thank you very much, council, for accommodating that motion from Councillor Barnhart and to support the Ringettes Association application for their tournament. Hopefully it'll come our way and with that, a lot of people coming to Beaumont and enjoying our services and restaurants and so on. So thank you very much, council, for doing that. At this point, the next order of business is any notices of motion from council this evening. Oh, sorry, it's not flashing. Oh, now it's flashing, sorry. Councillor Tessier, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mayor Daniluk. I will move that by December 14th, 2021, administration prepare a report on the advisability of eliminating counselors from the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board, as well as a proposed bylaw to amend bylaw 948-19, the Subdivision Development Appeal Board bylaw, to revise the membership requirements so that counselors are not eligible to serve as members. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Tessier. Did we vote? Do we vote? No. Thank you for that. Any further notice of the motion from council this evening? Seeing none. Thank you very much, Councillor Tessier, for your notice of motion. We have had our closed session, and to my understanding, the agenda has now been reached to its conclusion. I will now declare the motion, our meeting adjourned at 8:53 in the evening. Thank you, council. Thank you, administration, and thank you.